Why did I install Linux? Well, the main reason I installed Linux is because of my grandson. You see, he's been wanting to become a gaming YouTuber. He's young, so he doesn't have a channel. But when he plays, he narrates the game to his imaginary audience. I've got to say, I think he's pretty good. Anyway, I thought it would be cool if I can create an in-house setup as a YouTuber, minus actually uploading the YouTubes. To do so, I needed a device to capture his gameplay and narration. Using my iPad was out of the question. Then I remembered that I had a couple of old computers sitting around. Maybe I could use them. Why two computers, you ask? Well, my grandson has a younger sister. How can this grandma create a setup for one grandchild without creating one for the other one? No, she doesn't want to be a gamer. She's just a younger sister emulating her big brother. It's a good thing I had two computers. The computers I had were deemed outdated by Microsoft when they stopped supporting Windows 10. By then, I was fed up with Microsoft and Windows and refused to update to Windows 11. So I transitioned the household to Apple and put my old Windows computers out to pasture. Or should I say, they went to the storage room never to be used again. With my grandson's interest, I remembered I had these computers and decided to revive them. I didn't want to spend a lot of money or reinstall Windows, so Linux seemed to be the best solution. Installing Linux Mint is all about reading the directions, and that's how I got it on my computer. I went to the installation instructions and followed what they said to do. I could try to go through the whole thing again here, but they do a great job of explaining everything. It's really simple. The most difficult part is the booting system on the computer that you want to install it on. You have to make sure that the computer boots. When it boots up, that it uses the USB or whatever drive you have the installation on. So I had to wait and restart my Windows computer several times so that I would hit the either F7, F11, or escape key, whichever one it was, to make the computer boot from the USB drive. Once I finally had that, Bob was my uncle. Everything went smoothly. I followed the prompts that the software put in front of me, and the beauty of the whole thing was I didn't have to go around trying to reinstall drivers for my mouse or the microphone or anything that I had connection or any of my peripherals. They all appeared and they all functioned properly. It couldn't have been easier. And the thing is, I've installed Windows on several computers. Never have I had an install go that smoothly. Another thing I like about this is the file structure. You click on Files, and here are all your files. Desktop, documents, yada yada yada, down to videos. When you save something, they go into one of these folders. Now you can create folders and change the destination of where things go, but it's so much easier to find things. Unlike Apple, most of my, like I mentioned earlier, I converted the household over to Apple. I am still struggling with that file manager. When you come from Windows, you're used to seeing something like this. Well, this is even simpler and easier to get used to. All of your documents go in here. Again, you can change the folder, and change the order and size and all that, but it works well. Very easy and very simple. Once you have it installed, the only thing you have to do next is to get familiar with it. And for me, that was just clicking around and looking to see what they had to offer. If you look at the desktop here, this is my grandson's computer. You can see I downloaded a few games, and that games are just so simple to download. All you have to do is go into the software manager right here. Although I do have it on the desktop because I've been going into it frequently. And once it loads, you can click on games, and it'll show you a bunch of games that are here and easy to install. So say I wanted, that looked cute, let me get back to that, Frozen Bubble. So if I want that, it's a system package. You click install, it'll tell you what it's going to install. Not that I know what those are because I'm not a programmer. Click continue, and then you have to authenticate things a lot, which is good because this way I know my grandchildren are not just willy-nilly downloading things. So after it's installed, voila, you have another game. So we'll let this go through the installation process. I may speed up this a little bit. It only takes a few seconds, but so now I'm going to launch it. They don't expect, oh, whoa, that's a lot louder than I thought it should be. Yikes. Stop. Whoa, now that was a blast. Now that we have this cute little thing installed, rather loudly installed, I'm going to find it again. It started with an F, right? Frozen Bubble. So I'm going to right mouse click and then say add to desktop, and there's our loud little game right there. So it was just a matter of getting used to it. There are so many things, like I'm recording this using simple screen recorder. Very simple. Just press go. Well, you got to set up a few things, but it's a really simple program. The other thing I like is your computer is not held hostage with forced updates. This here tells you what updates there are. You can install them when you want to or not install them, but you get to choose when the installations occur. Unlike Windows, where you go to close your computer and you realize you've got a ton of updates to do, and it holds your computer hostage until it's done. Or you could be in the middle of something and it'll do that. Not a good thing. You can pretty much replicate most of the software programs from Windows or Apple. OBS Studio is another one that we use for film recording. Actually, he uses it, my grandson uses it for his gaming, so he records his game, and then you can have a screen where you see yourself. Excuse me. I'm not too into that, but he seems to enjoy it. You've got the Microsoft Office replacement or Google Docs replacement. If you go into, excuse me, this frog just is bugging me. If you go into the Office suite, and you can write documents or spreadsheets, presentations, all of that kind of stuff. So, excuse me, that works. I don't use that much, so I'm just going to X out of this here. I'll close and get out. But yeah, you can do pretty much everything here that you do on Windows and on Apple's. It's different. You have to get used to it, but you can do it. The file installation can be a challenge. As you just saw, I downloaded a game from the system where I learned that there's a difference between system installations and Flatpak. Then there are also command line installation, which sounds intimidating, but once you get used to it, it's not too bad. Plus, online you can find the answers to everything, whether it's ChatGPT or forums. I've used the command line to get out of a couple, or to help me install and configure some programs, but I did it all by using the command line, and it had been decades since I used command line, so of course I don't remember how all this goes, but it's available online. So I highly recommend Linux. The price, you can't beat it, and if you like tinkering around, I think it's well worth the investment.